Welcome back, Pontiac High School students. Let me just get this lined up for you. I apologize for this one formatting problem with switching from one program to another. I seem to have lost all my pictures for this lesson, but we will get through that. This is lesson 3.7 on passing a bill in the Senate. To begin with, the bill is introduced in much the same way as it is in the House of Representatives. Anybody can write a bill. The president can write a bill. His staff can write a bill. You can write a bill. I can write a bill. But only a senator can introduce it in the Senate. After it's read by the clerk, it's referred to a committee by the Senate Majority Leader. Senate Majority Leader also has the power to schedule bills for debate, and in this way, the Senate Majority Leader is a lot like the Speaker of the House of Representatives. Now, the rules for debate here are different, and they're importantly different. The House has rules which limit the length of a debate. Committee chair people within committees can limit them. Speaker of the House can limit debates, but the Senate doesn't have this. Senators can speak on an issue for as long as they wish, but there is a rule in place, the two-speech rule, which limits a senator to one speech per day on a single topic. So you can't give a nice long speech, sit down, have a little rest, stand up, and give another nice long speech. It doesn't work that way. Once you sit down, you're done for the day. So you do have to, get all of your points across just once. Now, the filibuster is what happens when a senator just wants to keep talking forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever. That's the filibuster. And because senators can speak indefinitely, they can do this. They do this generally to delay a vote on a contentious bill. There's something coming up, they really don't like it. They just get up there and they just start talking. Now, generally, some of that talk is going to be on the topic of the bill, but it doesn't have to be. And there have been cases where senators have stood up and just read a novel or read the phone book or just, 99 bottles of beer on the wall, 99 bottles of beer. This can take hours, can last days, can even last weeks. But after one particular incident, the Senate decided to put in place something called the Cloture Rule. This was in 1917. There was a filibuster that lasted 3 weeks. So for 3 weeks, the Senate couldn't get anything done. And they agreed that in some cases, they need to make sure that that doesn't happen. So they created the Cloture Rule. And this says that if 3/5 of the Senate agrees to limit further debate, the vote must be taken within 30 hours. So if there are 60 Republicans or 60 Democrats, they can limit the ability of the minority party to actually have a filibuster. Right now, that's not the case. There is a Republican majority in the Senate, but it is not a large enough majority to eliminate the potential for a filibuster. All right, conference committees. We've talked about conference committees twice before. We're doing it again because it's important. Know this one. Conference committees are the last step for Congress on a bill. And this is where the House and the Senate get together to try to figure out the differences between their two bills. This is done because they have to pass the exact same bill with the exact same words. Commas have to be in the same place. It has to be exactly the same. And since the House and Senate have to pass this, they have to get all that wording set between the two of them. So the conference committee is formed in order to get both the House and the Senate versions in alignment with each other. Now, the conference committee is limited in their area of debate. Okay, they can only address areas where they disagree. They cannot add new material. So they can't sit down together and decide to add anything new to it. It's not their purpose. Their purpose is just to address the differences. Once they have, and once the committee has compromised on it, they send it back to the houses of Congress, and the House and the Senate both have to repass the bill in the exact same language. Now it goes beyond Congress. The final step in creating a law is with a presidential action. But the president has 4 choices once that bill arrives on his desk. Number 1, he can sign the bill and it becomes a law. That's it. That's simple. Lands on his desk, He sits down, puts pen to the paper, and that bill is now a law. Number two, he can veto the bill and return it to Congress to be rewritten. Sometimes they can just say, you know what, this whole thing is garbage, I don't want it, it's dead, veto. Other times, they might say, you know, I like most of this, but paragraph 3, subsection B, I'm not crazy about that one. So Congress, I want you to rewrite that section, and sends it back down with notes. And then Congress can decide to do it or not to do it. The third option is that a president doesn't sign the law or veto the law. Well, after 10 days, it becomes a law if the president doesn't sign it. The president doesn't need to agree to it necessarily, he just needs to not veto it. If a president chooses to do this, they probably decided to do so because they do not favor all parts of the law and they want to protest against it in a way that doesn't actually stop the law from passing, because there are other parts in it that need to be passed. So a president might not approve of the law, but would allow the law to become the law of the land. The fourth option, however, is that if Congress ends their session before those 10 days are over, then it does not become a law. This is called a pocket veto. If Congress passes a last-minute law and then adjourns their session, and they all go home, maybe to spend Christmas with their family, the president can simply not sign the bill, let the 10 days pass, and then it does not become a law. It is a pocket veto. Now, on the topic of veto, we should discuss something that comes up periodically called the line item veto. In 1996, Congress made the very poor decision to pass a law that allowed the president to veto only the sections of a law he disliked. So let's say there was a law that had two parts. One was spending $50 billion to build some new highways. And the other part of the law was raising taxes to pay for this $50 billion spending project. Well, if the president wanted to with a line item veto, he could simply remove the tax part and keep the spending part. Well, that tremendously increases the power of the president and is just a bad idea. And in 1998, the Supreme Court wisely said, that's a bad idea. Not only is it a bad idea, it's unconstitutional. So the president does not have that power. Every now and again, there's some discussion around that pops up again, but the president cannot do a line item veto. That is today's lesson. That was the passing of a bill in the Senate. Aligned fairly well with what the House did. Make sure that we're aware of those differences, though, on filibuster and cloture. Remember, conference committees, that is important as well. Thank you very much for joining me today, and farewell.